The two choreos you've learned about so far are useful on their own, but things get a lot more interesting once you learn how to combine choreos into workflows. In this lecture, I'll show you how to do this. We will create a demo sketch running on the Arduino that uses a button to trigger a series of functions. First, it will get data from the environment sensor. Second, it will store the data in a Google spreadsheet. And third, it will send you an email with the same data. Creating choreo workflows is surprisingly easy. Let me show you. In this lecture, I'll show you how to combine multiple choreos in order to create more interesting workflows. And in addition, I'll show you how to trigger a choreo using a button. And of course, you can substitute the button for other conditions as well. To demonstrate how to combine multiple choreos, I will combine the two choreos that you're already familiar with, the spreadsheet one and the email one. Probably a good way to get started is to go to my profiles page that lists all my credentials and the choreos as well. And the choreos that I demonstrated earlier was this one here, the Tembu Gmail example, and this one here, the T-Explore spreadsheet demo. What I'll do is I will start with the T-Explore spreadsheet demo. I'll go to Edit It, and I will add a trigger function or a trigger sensor event. Then I will modify the sketch that Tembu generates for me to also include the second choreo that I want to be triggered at the same time as the spreadsheet's choreo. There's an option here to define a sensor event trigger. So I will expand this option, and you can see that we can choose between analog and digital events. And because I just want to use a button to trigger this choreo, I'm just going to go to digital, and then I can select the digital pin on the Arduino Uno that will trigger this choreo. So as I've got digital selected, you can see on the image on the side here that I can switch between analog and digital pins. So now I'm going to, the red indicates a digital pin selection, and the digital pins that Tembu allows me to configure in the sketch are number 2 and number 8, or I can treat any of the analog pins as digitals as well. So I will select the trigger to be connected to digital pin 8. And then what I want to do is when the signal at digital pin 8 becomes high, then run the choreo. The sketch has been updated by Tembu down here, and you can see that the new code is this. So if sensor value is high, then go ahead and execute this function. And this function is this function down here. So I'm going to use this as a base for a new sketch that will combine two choreos executing together, responding to the single trigger event. So I'll download this code. So here's my Appendro sketch number 2. I will delete the original one because of the naming conflict. I have two sketches with the same name, and I need, as per the Arduino IDE convention, I need to change the name of the folder that holds my new sketch to be the same as the name of the sketch. Oh, okay, I need to delete that as well. All right. Okay, so with that done, we can open up the new sketch. Okay, and here it is. And the main part of interest is that if statement. Actually, there are two things of interest here. I've got the block that corresponds to the if statement. So if the button is high, then this code will execute, and inside the block I've got the call to the run append row function, which is this function down here. This function contains the same code that we saw earlier, except for the DHT22 parts, which I will add shortly. But instead of having this code now in a loop, it's inside its own function. On the Arduino, I've set the button connected to digital pin number 8, and I haven't made any changes to the DHT sensor, which I'm not going to use yet anyway. I've also got a pull down resistor, 10 kilo ohm pull down resistor for the button. What I'll do next is I'll adjust this sketch so that instead of just storing the default values from the profile to my Google spreadsheet, it will take the sensor values and store those as well. I'm just going to copy from the previous sketch. So I'll start by adding the DHT22 code. Just like we've done before, it's exactly the same thing here. Just add the code that is missing from what Tembu has provided, and DHT begin in setup. We'll put that here. And then I will also create 2 floating point variables. So float, one for the humidity and another float for the temperature. And then I'll go into the loop, and inside the loop, when the button is pressed, then I will take a measurement for the humidity and a measurement for the temperature. And I use the values in those 2 variables with the 2 choreos. Next thing to do is I will remove the parameter from the run append row and adjust the definition of the function here as well, because I'll be using the global variables to grab the values from, instead of passing them through via parameters to the function. And I will then override the raw data input with the sensor value. Of course, the sensor value is a string, so I need to construct it here like that. So there's the sensor value, and I want to send off the temperature first. That's the first value in the comma delimited set of values. Then add the comma to the string, and then add the humidity like that. One more thing I need to do before I execute the program is to convert the floating point number into a string like this. And now we're good to go. So with the sketch adjusted now and fixed, let's upload it to the Arduino and see it working. Okay, check out the serial monitor. Okay. Let's press the button and see if it triggers the choreo. Trigger the choreo. Yep, it looks like it's successful. We've got a new access token, and check out the spreadsheet, and there's the latest value. I'll do that one more time. And there you go, another set of values added to the spreadsheet. Okay, that looks good. What I'd like to do next is to add the second choreo to my sketch so that an email is also sent to me. To do that, I will just copy the code from the sketch from the previous lecture. So here's the sketch from the previous lecture. There will be a few modifications, of course, but mainly it's going to be the code from the email sketch. So I would like to create first a new function, and I'll call that send Choreo or something like that, so that I know what it's about. So I'll just say void send email. I'll just call it that. And I don't need any parameters because I'll be using the global variables for that. And in here, I will copy the code from the original sketch all the way down to here. I don't need the last bracket, so just that part. Copy that and paste it in here. Now, instead of grabbing a new reading from the sensor, I'm just going to change that to a T and that to a H, and essentially just copy the environmental variables. And that should be enough. Let's verify that I don't have any errors. Of course, num runs. Okay, I need to remove this first line since I'm not using the number of runs variable anymore, and try again. Okay, looks good. So now I also need to, should make that a lowercase actually, just convention for names of functions, start with a lowercase letter, and then I need to trigger that from the loop. So after I run the run append row function, I will call this send email function to have the emails sent. Verify. All good. All right. And then upload it to the Arduino. Okay, so the sketch is on the Arduino. All good. So let's trigger the two choreos. All right, so there's a new record in the spreadsheet, and let's see if I have an email. And there you go, an email that just came about a minute ago with the credentials. So you can see that the data in the email and the data in the last record of the spreadsheet are the same. Awesome. So in conclusion, it is fairly easy to combine multiple choreos together in the same sketch and have your Arduino able to do several things at once. In the next lecture, I'll show you how you can get your Arduino to respond to a condition reported to it from Tempo. So for example, what I'll do in the next lecture is to show you how to get your Arduino to turn an LED on when Tempo reports that a choreo has been executed successfully.